Good afternoon, students. Please read the article first, then listen to my questions. Pause the audio after you hear the question and try to speak out your own answer aloud. Please remember that my answer, even though it may not be similar to yours, does not mean your answer is incorrect. This article is about sectarian violence in Myanmar. So question 1, can you tell me what sectarian violence means? Pause the audio. Sect, S-E-C-T, means a group identified by its religion or cultural background. And violence in this respect means different sects fighting. For example, Muslims against Buddhists. Question 2. The beginning of the article suggests that the reason for the violence over the last year or so has been enabled by the movement towards democracy in Myanmar. Can you explain that, please? Pause the audio. Previously, Myanmar was a country totally controlled by an army dictatorship, and they enforced their rule strictly, thus preventing any kind of inter or sectarian violence. However, with the greater freedom which democracy has allowed, people are now expressing their true feelings in actions. Question 3, it talks about the response of some of the Muslims. Can you tell me and give me some examples of how the Muslims are responding to these attacks? Please pause the audio. Many Muslims are trying to flee the country, perhaps by boat, and others are trying to protect their homes by stockpiling food and other essential items. Question 4. To find the reasons for this hostility from Buddhists to Muslims, we need to look back into history. Can you briefly explain the foundation of the hostility of the Buddhists towards the Muslims in Myanmar? Well, apparently a long time ago, maybe before the British were the rulers in Myanmar, many Muslims came from India to settle in Myanmar, and they were quite successful in their work and business, and this engendered jealousy from the Buddhists, who have hated them ever since. Question 5. The article uses the expression the looking glass world of Myanmar. The looking glass comes from the novel Alice in Wonderland. What do you think this metaphor means, the looking glass world? In the novel Alice in Wonderland, Alice would go through the looking glass and she would enter a different world. So I think what this means is we are seeing a different, or perhaps the real world in Myanmar when we see the violence between the different religious groups. Question 6, I think. The article also uses the expression chauvinist Buddhists. Can you explain what this means? Chauvinist means somebody who has a strong love for their own group and consequently hate other groups. Therefore, chauvinist Buddhist is somebody who hates other people who are not Buddhists. Question 7. The current government are trying to make some changes to reduce the tension in this situation. Can you explain what they are trying to do? The government are trying to give Muslims more protection, although it seems unlikely that they're going to offer them citizenship. Last question, number 8. How would you deal with this problem if you were Aung San Suu Kyi? How would you deal with this problem of sectarian violence in your country, which in many ways has similarities to the situation in the south of Thailand? Well, this may not be popular, but the Rohingyas have apparently been living in Burma for several generations. So as we have allowed them to do that, I think we must also allow them to have citizenship and give them the same legal rights as the other people living in the country. However, looking at the hostility of the Buddhists, this is certainly not going to be easy. I think we would have to go into the areas where there is violence and do a thorough investigation to discover the exact nature of the hostility between the groups, and perhaps through education, change attitudes. Thank you for listening, students. Goodbye.